Welcome to F1 with DRS. I am DRS. I'm joined by MC, CC, and JB. A peek behind the curtain. For us to sync our audio and our video, it requires a clap. And
requires this clap.
Yeah. And Charlie has been designated for whatever, self-designated, I guess, is the official clapper.
I was quick on the trigger at the beginning, and I think now I've just taken over.
Well, it left 2 episodes. It left Matt and I in a bit of a quandary because you were gone. And then it was like, well, who's going to fill this power void? And I think, Matt, you got it.
Yeah, I got a clap. It was maybe one of the best claps of the season.
Some people are saying
real loud.
Yeah,
the rumors in the paddock.
He's been practicing on a sim at home over and over again, just in case it
put
ever
so many
happens.
miles of clapping.
He puts on sim gloves and then claps the air, but makes the clap.
I actually bought a pair of sim gloves because I thought it could help. Because all these people online I saw, they're really racing gloves.
Okay.
And I tried them. It didn't feel good. And all I've used them for is when I carried my Christmas tree from my car in so I didn't get sap on my hands. And
I got to say, I was nervous for you when we were at Atia's house because he was wearing a racing suit.
Yes.
He was wearing
racing shoes.
He was wearing a helmet. And he was wearing gloves. And I thought, oh, boy.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I am upgrading my sim setup this week. I am going for a big upgrade because we have the Logitech G29 setups, which are like the cheapest, best setups. And then I'm now going to direct drive, which apparently gives a more realistic feel. It's got its own motor in it.
Oh, okay.
So Logitech, I wanted to go to an F1 racing wheel, but they get really expensive and most of the European companies are not compatible. But Logitech has this like GT wheel because now I'm really into racing just normal cars on Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
That's why I asked you
Here's
about...
my input.
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to keep spending small amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I think you just rip the Band-Aid off and go all in on
this is
it.
Yeah. It's
You'll be sitting in a cage and they'll be moving around.
Just the wheel is because I did a manual upgrade on my brake system. So I took the whole thing apart and spent 4 hours. It was the most intricate thing I've ever done in my life, but it worked. Then the wheel is about $1,000 for this wheel setup.
The steering wheel.
Just the steering wheel.
Okay.
And all the other wheel setups, like a direct drive motor, you have to buy it separately. That's about $600 for top of the line, and then the wheels you can replace. So you could they sell a wheel for every car that you want to drive.
Right.
So you could have vintage wheels, everything, and then you buy the wheels, and usually the Formula One wheel is about $700.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of there.
You're circling this phenomena that exists heavily in teenage car ownership, which is you cannot afford to buy the right car. So you buy the car you didn't want, and then you spend far more money trying to upgrade it.
Yeah.
You get a cold air box in it and a K&N filter, and then you get exhaust, and then you're looking at forced induction, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, could have just bought the V8 Mustang at this point.
That's what I did with my first Harley.
Yes.
I bought it for $13,000 Canadian, and I for sure put in $13,000 in it. Right. And I will probably sell it for $5,000.
For $1,300.
Yeah.
And you still had a Harley at the end of it. I mean,
that's the rough thing about upgrading
the
Harley. Yeah.
I still think it sounds better than anything in the world.
It does.
Unless you drive off a stock Harley off the lot, you realize quickly that you must put on new pipes immediately, or I was so depressed driving that Harley off. I was like, I did not know this.
That's another free tip. Yes, if you're going to buy a Harley, get the exhaust done before you drive it home, because you're going to have the biggest buyer's remorse when you drive home. It's like, you're like, wait a minute. Why did we get it's slower? It doesn't stop as good, and it sounds like this. What did we do?
It's all about the sound.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Okay, so this is going to be a fun episode of some gossip, because despite the season being over, the gossip and the pulp has not stopped. If anything, maybe it's picked up some momentum.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do a fun exploration of some remaining zaddies. And then we're going to go through the history of advertising in Formula One. And then I think next episode we're going to have to fork over some money, unless, Rob, you've already tallied that. But maybe next episode. We'll come together and we'll bring some cash, and we'll have a little cash Bacchanalia. So let's start out with some pulp from the paddock.
Okay. So a lot of this stuff we'll post on our social media so you can see if you don't know the video. But there was one with Yuki got to meet his absolute idol at the end of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Jason Statham is his biggest idol.
That's his guy.
Yep. And funny enough, his phone, like if you airdrop Yuki, it says Jason's son. Because he just wants to be Jason's son. So he met him, and it was the cutest thing ever. Because we see a lot of F1 drivers meet their hero or like a lot of big celebrities, and they're kind of trying to be cool. Yuki was not cool. He was like a little child meeting his idol, and it was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I bet Jason Statham enjoyed it too, because Statham is a beast. All respect is due to him, but he's a shorter dude. And so for him to be towering over Yuki as a legend, it's probably, he probably really felt like the way Yuki sees him.
Yeah, their height was similar.
Yeah,
it didn't look that different. Yeah.
No, come on.
I love that can we even still height shame? I'm like, first I'm grateful we can still height shame, but now I'm also imagining we're probably behind the curve and you can't.
I think height is a different thing, because I have a friend who's 6'8", and he's like, I don't like it, because every time I go somewhere, people look at him and they're like, oh, you're a basketball player, right? And it's like, people always address his height, and he's like, if I had any other body type or something, you couldn't say it. Yeah. But yet you're like almost addressing me like a freak because I'm so tall.
Well, also there's a weird subtext that when you see a guy who's 6'8" and you ask if he plays basketball and he doesn't or hasn't, you go, well, he's lazy, because he coulda.
He shoulda.
Like, I imagine those 6'8" guys who say no, they've never picked up a ball. They feel a little bit like the other person thinks they're lazy.
I would just say, I hit my growth spurt in my 20s. Like,
it
was
that's
too
how
late.
You would get.
Yeah, like
I had missed the window.
Yeah.
We got a big switch up, and it's going to lead into a later advertising. McLaren is now sponsored by Monster. Monster Energy drink. Pulled out of Mercedes and is now with McLaren. However, Lewis still has his own sponsorship with Monster, which is staying, but they pulled out. So I wonder if they're seeing the writing on the wall, and they're like, maybe Mercedes is going to do a bit better, and they're trying to jump on that wagon. I don't know.
So that's a very viable theory. It is also possible that level of brand partnership went up in value to a level that Mercedes thinks it's worth, $190 million commitment, and McLaren thinks it's a 140. And they've been watching TV, and they realize the McLarens, you see a lot of the McLarens.
Mercedes is a weirdly corporate look and feel to it as well. McLaren feels fresher, and Lando's
younger,
cheeky and younger, and he's just seems a little bit like he's enjoying himself more. There's definitely been an air of depression around. When was the last time you saw any Mercedes person smile?
It's kind of cool that Lando can't win. So if you're a sponsor, it's kind of cool too. He just can't win a race. It's great.
You like that's part of the appeal for you. Well, also, if you think about it this way, you're getting out 2 for 1, because Lewis is already a monster athlete, like a Red Bull athlete.
And that's all I think of. Mercedes might be sponsored, but I just think of Lewis.
He's a monster athlete.
Yeah.
So they already have that. Yeah. He has his own personal individual contract. Has nothing to do with whatever Mercedes is paying. But you're right, Jethro. They probably also were like, this was never a great demographic fit, because it's a youth product, and you have one of the older drivers, second oldest driver on the grid is the lead driver in a legacy brand that represents old rich people.
Yeah, literally the oldest car company in the world, basically.
Yeah, Mercedes and Monster don't seem to mix.
Mercedes and Champagne or something.
Yeah, they should have like a Grey Poupon sponsor,
caviar,
a yacht maker maybe.
Yeah, a Russian oligarch of some sort.
Yeah, one of those.